Welcome back to our channels, Warriors. We are still growing. If you haven't had your prima, smash that subscribe button. Go ahead and smash it right now. First and foremost, let me give a shout out to the following patrons: Marius, Andrew, Louise, CharMandy, Robert, Johnny, Chevelle 66, Renso, GiGi, Abuelitas Journey, and DAUSHERRERO. If you haven't signed up for my Patreon, I am dropping fire over there. Stuff you're not going to be able to see anywhere else. This episode right here is going to be about military veterans that are incarcerated in the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, where I happened to do 16 years and resigned as a lieutenant. Did I come across them? Did I know any? Did I interact with them? Yeah. Of course I did, by far. As a matter of fact, looking back now, there was actually a lot of them, right? And I say a lot because there was a lot of them, right? And it's not to say that military veterans should be exempt from getting incarcerated, but maybe it was just one of those things that stood out, right? That kind of like either that or they ensured to let me know that they were veterans, right? And it could have been that too. And I'll get a little more into that later in this video, but there was, how can I put this? I would say Donovan, right? I'm going to talk about RJD Donovan, because as far as veterans at Centinela State Prison went, like the communication was not as fluid as Donovan, right? I don't know if it's because the different times back then or my rank as a sergeant and lieutenant that maybe allowed me that opportunity to converse more, or just the institution itself, right? The majority was S&Y. You only had one general population yard. The rest were protective custody. So they speak more freely to officers. Or green, right? Peace officers. There was Vietnam vets that I came across, and a Vietnam vet is a Vietnam vet, man. Especially if it's all right, here's the thing about military or veterans. You got to be very cautious and very careful on what you gather, right? Because I've heard some wild stuff, man. Myself, as a Army veteran, to me, it always seemed like the people that were talking about it were not about it. If that makes any sense, to me, in my experience, the people that were quiet were the ones that seen some stuff, for sure, right? So you just got to be cautious. If a dude's like tooting his own horn and putting a 10 on his own stories, that always just caught my attention right away. Like, here we go. But for the legitimate Vietnam veterans, or any veteran for that matter, that actually, didn't put a 10 on it, seen some stuff, and yeah, they're there. How did I feel about it? It all depends, right? Like, it all depends, right? I can't take away somebody's duty of serving, somebody's honor of serving. I can't touch that. That is set in stone. That is set in place, right? But there was one, man. I'm gonna fast forward right into this one. Delta Yard. I was a lieutenant. The culinary, the chow hall. I was doing my rounds, walking around with the sergeant, and like an inmate kitchen worker comes out. And the way he's talking to me, this dude is pretty much standing like at parade rest. And you're like, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. Short haircut, right? Military, Marine Corps haircut. And I'm like, right off the bat, in my head, what's up with this dude? Right? Like, man, inmates will say, sir, they'll call you boss, right? I already told you what boss means backwards. And this dude was doing it, right? Felt like a drill instructor right there. What's up, man? But I go back to my desk. One of the luxuries of being a lieutenant, you got the computer, right? It's also a curse. You get those emails from your captain. Ridiculous. I looked the dude up. Wow, man, I so happened to watch a documentary on this guy. It was like a Dateline series, a ABC 2020, something like that. The dude was a Marine in 29 Palms. He was married. He had a Sancha on the side, right? Some people like to put their Sancha as their main course, but don't do that, right? He had a Sancha on the side. I believe that Sancha was married. He ended up getting her pregnant. I think that's how the story went. He got her pregnant. Well, he ended up killing, I don't know if he killed the girlfriend, the wife. He killed somebody, right? One of the females. Could have been the girl, could have been the Sancha. Kills her, throws her down throws her down. What did he throw her down? Like out in the desert, there was like a well, some type of like culvert type thing. Throws her body down there like a mine, right? He throws propane tanks down there, is trying to blow her up and get rid of the evidence. I mean, this is like intense. And that stood out to me when I first saw it. I'm like, that's the dude. That's the dude. Wow, like, how do I feel about that? How do I feel about that? I mean, it is no different. It is no different than anybody not military doing that, right? That is a crime. That is illegal. That is immoral to be killing people and throwing them into wells, or like, you know what I mean? So like, I'm not here to be judging people, but that is what it is, right? So, I mean, you ain't gonna get no extra treatment from me. You're gonna get it right in the middle, right? Fair, firm, fair, and consistent, right? My boy doesn't get an extra sack lunch for being a Marine. My boy doesn't get an extra sack lunch for saluting me as I walk by the chow hall, right? It's just for me, for me, knowledge, information, right? Information. Probably tell the troops, watch out for that guy, man, before you find yourself in a place you don't want to be. But in all seriousness, that's how it is. Like, another good one, right? Delta Yard. This inmate was a pain in my butt. No, not the way you're thinking, right? Although it is Donovan. But initially, I told you about red flags. I told you about when people come up to me and start just boasting, bragging, throwing their resume at me. Let alone an inmate, right? Let alone an inmate. It's kind of like, what do you want? Like, what do you want, right? Because you're obviously doing something to get something. And this is the case here. This guy tells me right off the bat, I was a Marine. Oh, this guy annoyed me. Right? He didn't annoy me initially because I give everybody a fair shake, right? Like, what's up, man? Like, oh, I was a Marine. Look, I don't know how he had like a picture of his Marine ID. He had something, right? Buzz cut, haircut, like, oh, I was a Marine. Look, if you ever need anything, Hector's pumping the brakes right there. One, I will never need anything from you, right? Like, and that's you coming to me, telling me if I ever need anything. Nope, not going to happen. I don't need anything. Thank you. Keep it pushing, right? If you guys are getting my drift here, this, in other words, like, hey, dude, you ain't going to hook me. You ain't going to, like, miss me with all that. Please miss me with all that. I'm not going to. So, hey, I was a Marine. If you ever need anything, I can tell you who's doing this, who's doing what. I'm like, oh, man, here we go. Again, dude, I don't need anything from you, number one. Number two, stop what you're doing. Number three, I already know who's doing what. And I think I've already told you guys this, man. We know everything. We know everything, right? So if you're getting away with something, it's because you guys are being allowed to get away with it. Period. Point blank. So this dude, man, this dude just every time I walk, this guy walks with me. Every time I'm like, man, This dude's just trying to get in my ear, right? Like a legal beagle type of guy, meaning like into the law, into the time. Like this dude to me was out there. One day, this dude comes up to the staff members on the yard and hands them a letter. The letter that he typed up. Dude was like a Mac rep of some sort. The letter said, I want to give you an appreciation to all the staff on Delta Yard. You guys are doing a great job. I know how hard your job is. When COVID hit, you guys were heroes. Came into work and did your thing. And the officers come into my office and like give me the letter. I look. I'm like, right, I already told you my perception. So I go outside, I see the dude, I'm like, hey, did you write this? He's like, yeah, it's the least I can do. I'm like, all right, cool, good looking out. I go back in. I kid you not, man. Like 4 days, not even like a full week went by. The captain on that yard, he ended up retiring or because of that Warden Pollard that pushed him out the door. He's like, hey, look at this and look into this. And I'm like, look, it was a different letter from the same individual, opposite, saying that we were beating dudes up. The supervisors all knew about it. There's a corruption going on. Call the governor. Actually, the dude sent out the letter to the governor, sent it out to the highest people of the department. And I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me here. Right? Again, not surprised, not shocked, just like annoyed, right? Called the dude in the office and I said, did you write this? Yes. I said, help me understand something, man. One day you write a letter like this. The following day you write a letter like this. I said, do you mean to tell me there is staff misconduct happening right underneath my nose? That's exactly what I told him. And he's like, yes. But after a thorough investigation, this dude was trying to play all kinds of sides, right? He was trying to play the cops, trying to play the inmates, trying to play everything, man, which was unlawful influence, right? Like this dude was bad news, for sure. Thought he was smarter than what he was, and I think I told him one time, you think you're smarter than what you are, and he took offense to that, which I could see how that could sound offensive, but I'm telling you, this guy was not coming from a straightforward, direct approach. My boy over here was going nuts, right? That's just 2 examples. There's plenty other more, right? But those are veterans. Those were both Marines. Delta Yard, RJD, right? The message for today, right? The message for today for anybody. I've always found that honesty is the best policy, right? Well, not always. I actually found out the hard way, right? Through my experiences in life. But ever since I've been sober for 12 years and have been on this new journey, I don't got to worry about what lie I've told. If I don't be telling lies, right? Everything is just on the up and up, right? Ethical, moral. And honestly, guys, for me, way stress-free type of life. Keep pushing forward.